Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Johnny DeStanson. We have Reginald Perryman and Shaka Williams. We are TSARE, and this is the There's Something About Real Estate podcast where we talk all things real estate. All right, guys, what y'all been doing? It's been an interesting week in real estate. I mean, I'm still putting out fires and stuff, but actually, what we're getting ready to talk about might be a potential issue coming up. Right now, prevalence. People are striking. We know the big three and automotive are striking, but apparently the casinos just decided on Tuesday, I think October 17th, whatever day that was, that they were going to strike. Yeah.
So everybody want to know how that impacts the housing market here in our area.
The first question that I'm getting is like, why they striking? And I'm like, I feel like it's obvious, but
Right.
Who asked that?
you was one of them.
I did.
Yeah. I'm like, more money, better pension, work-life balance.
Yeah,
so the chant that's happening right now is, what are they saying? One job is enough,
Right.
or should be enough, something like that. Basically, where they're saying that they shouldn't have to go off and work a whole bunch of jobs to pay their bills.
Yeah.
And I saw.
I'm kind of confused though in this market, in this economy right now, from knowing a lot of business owners. Everybody's complaint is people don't want to work, people not showing up for work. So is it the fact that they're not getting paid enough, the incentives are not there for them to show up and work these jobs? Because really where I'm finding it most is on the entry level jobs. So like even the fast food workers, they want a higher wage of income. So
that's been a long time though. That was before everything. The fast food workers been trying to get that money.
Right.
But I know I watched a little bit of an interview. One of the gentlemen that worked down at the casino, he was saying that he just felt like they been there and at work, and even through like coming from like the pandemic and all of those struggles, they've been in place, and the industry is making more money, and they're making more money because they're showing up at work, performing.
Right.
And if they're making more money, then they should be paying their workers more money.
I agree. It's a toughie though, right? Because I see it a lot in the construction industry, right? Especially as since the pandemic, where people they're not quite qualified for the amount of money that they're asking for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I can see that.
So somebody that come to my job site, they'll get hired on entry level pay, right? And then they come on, they perform a couple of jobs with one of my skilled contractors that's been doing it for 40 years. So now they feel that they could do his job,
right? And
now they want it. Oh yeah, I could do that too. So now I need a raise.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
But what about the people that's kind of like, I need they're either on the line working, or like me, I used to work at the casino. I served beverages, a cocktail waitress or a beverage attendant. My job didn't change. I just had to show up and make sure I took orders.
Right.
And then, whenever we would have contract negotiations, it was always a talk about getting more money, being paid more money, just because the cost for me or for a person to get up and come to work, it just wasn't enough to maintain the lifestyle.
Cost of living increase.
Okay, so it has to be a balance too, because from the business owner perspective, who's taking all the risks, because you're getting paid regardless. You show up your 40 hours or however long you work, and especially when you have a business that's relying on sales or like a restaurant or something like that. If nobody comes into that restaurant or that store or casino that day, there's no money made, but the employee still gets paid, right? But we all know with casinos, they're constantly going to make money. So it has to be a balance, because if the cost of labor gets too expensive, then they got to increase the cost of services. And then those people that are buying and paying for those services, guess what they're going to want from their employers? a raise. So it's
It's bad.
yeah, it has to balance out at some point in time and level out, and then incremental increases.
But their argument is that, well, you've made more money, your income, your profits have.
Right.
So that's what I'm about
But
to
is
say.
that profit temporarily?
That's what I was about to say. It can't
Yeah.
be based on that. I feel like that's not fair. So if you feel like you're not being paid the proper amount of money to do your job, that's one thing, right? But don't base your pay based on how much money you think I made. And that's the issue. You know what
The
I'm
problem
But
with
they
that,
feel like they made them the money.
well,
I mean, but
and that could be.
I mean, I can really give real, from my perspective as a business owner, shit, yeah, some years I do make more money than others. Some years we had a good year, right?
Right.
But some years we got a bad year. So to Reggie's point, when in the bad year, y'all taking a pay cut?
I don't know.
No,
I'm not taking nobody's pay cut.
No, I'm right. But that's the point. So it's got to be. It can't be based off of. Cause then. So if you want to be an owner, you could be an owner and deal with like he just said, the possibility of loss. But you don't want that. You want a guaranteed paycheck, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I'm gonna probably those people are probably gonna get laid off too if there's too much of a loss.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because if you start increasing wages and you have, as an owner, you have to make profit, you can increase wages, but then at some point in time, you can't afford the labor force. So you start cutting, you start letting some people go just so you can afford the best of the best workers. And then they end up getting overworked, and now you're back to the scenario all over.
And your service is shitty now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So-
Because you're trying to keep your top guys, and now instead of them just doing their job, now maybe they got to clean up a little bit now instead of me because my laborer want to get paid $30 an hour.
You know what? I like the idea of profit share for that reason, because as a business owner, let's take a small business, right? Let's say your profit is, I don't know, $500,000 for the year, and you got 10 employees, right? Now that's this year. If you gave everybody a pay raise, and then next year, let's say you're at break even, right? There's nothing to share, nothing to give them, right? You can't continue to make raises if you're not making a profit. But a profit share is an incentive that says, the owners have to work hard to make a profit. The employees got to work hard to make a profit. And at the end of the year, we're going to all share part of this pot.
The difficulty of that is, I tried it. I tried a version of that. And the difficulty is when you might have half of your employees working hard.
Right.
And then the other half BSing. And so that impacts those, they say you're only as strong as your weakest link. Your weakest link really do hurt you, your profits.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
So then at the end of the year, you tell them, oh, we didn't have that much profit. So our profit share is low this year.
right.
Or the amount of money using your bonus is low. And now they mad at the other people. And then,
But see, that's the owner's fault for keeping those weak links. Because now because then you're going to have the pressure, the peer pressure from the coworkers say, look, we want a good profit share. We all need to pull our weight.
yeah, it's not realistic though. So it's like in an NBA team, an NFL team, any professional sports team, any team, period, you're going to have weak links. Everybody ain't strong. You know what I mean? And like even in the Bulls, when you had Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, some people were, Ron Harper was good on defense, but he couldn't score for nothing. You know what I mean? So,
Everybody played their role.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, when the plants give out their bonus checks and they profit share checks and all that kind of thing, everybody get one. No matter what you did, you just get a check. It's just kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
well, no, because some people get larger checks. So that's the issue. That's what the issue has been with the plant. So the plant workers are getting certain checks, but then people that's in management getting big checks. But it should, plant employees are like, hold on, bro. So the main that's been like a big thing. And I forgot who it was, but he got like millions and millions of dollars in his bonus.
It should be equivalent to your rate of pay. So like the person that's making $20 an hour versus the person that's making $80 an hour, just from the start, the person that's making $80 an hour is probably more important to the company.
To the right? To who? Perspective again, right?
That's because you probably only got 1 or 5 of them, but you got hundreds of the people making $20 an hour, right? It has to be fair, but it also but it can't be even based on your importance to the company. So when you mention a team, they wasn't paying Harper what they was paying Jordan for that reason, because it was based on performance and how important you are to the team. But they all still won. Yeah, the weak link was still strong in their position. They just wasn't the strongest. But together as a team, they still won.
They did because of the Michael Jordan. So that's what I'm saying.
But that weak link was still strong. He just wasn't as strong as the strongest link. So the goal was to win so that we can all benefit, right? You're always going to have the stronger and weaker links. But when we all benefit, that's going to make the weaker links give 100% of whatever they got to offer.
I got you. I got your perspective. So what I'm saying though is, so like Ron Harper, if you win to point guards in that year, he wasn't one of the strong point guards. He was one of the weaker point guards in the league. But he's being carried by strong teammates. So he really is the weak link. They won despite your weakness.
But he still played his part for that team.
They won despite his weakness. You get what I'm saying? But my point is, so how does this affect? So anyway, when we getting off the real estate subject, so based on the real estate subject, how does this impact what's going on? You had a couple of challenges.
Oh yeah. So I was supposed to got a clear to close like Wednesday. Today is Friday, and we're going into the next week, and I still have no clear. The response is, well, we don't know. The client works at the casino.
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
Clear to close them. So.
Well, you can't clear the close if they might get laid off or they're not working.
I mean, so that's what I was talking to one of my lender friends, and he was like, yes, they will stop it at the table if they find out a strike is happening. Right. Like, I've seen it. I just didn't expect it. Like, I get a call in 1 hour. It's like, oh, yeah, you should have your clear to close tomorrow. And then in the next hour, I get this email about the updates in the news and where we are and, all those kind of things. And so
that's one of the moments where you hate social media and TV and the internet, because remember, they wouldn't have traveled fast, right? They wouldn't have found out 3 days.
Exactly. I was longer than that.
When she told me, I'm like, how do they know?
Right.
Like, I'm like, that's a negative. Is that a negative with dealing with the local lender?
Well, no.
Now I'm saying if she was dealing with a lender that
California,
they wouldn't have known about a strike at GM.
I think they would have known.
You think? I don't think so.
It's the internet.
Not that fast. I don't think.
If people want to hear it, they still don't even know. Yeah. Like, I'm calling people because I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, so I called 3 of our lenders.
Right.
Actually, it was 4 of them. Yes, 4. Trying to figure out, okay, who else is having this impact, because you would have to have someone that's in the automotive industry or someone that's not in one of the casinos to be, having this thing go on. And there's only the one right now, and so the other ones are kind of like, wait, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, what's happening?
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, what do you mean? And so now we're kind of like talking about a strike in general, and how that impacts things, and what we should be expecting. So, like, here right now, knowing that a good part of the population works down at the casino. I'm sure we all have friends or relatives who work at the casinos, and we probably all have friends or relatives that work at one of the big 3.
Right.
And everybody's on strike, and then they're also in the process of buying homes.
Right.
I
got a question. If you're in the process of buying a home, right, so your client or anybody's client, and you're expected to close next week, but you're going on strike, should you still close on the property?
That's up to their comfort level.
What you mean? The buyer? As the buyer?
Yeah. I would, if it were me.
So,
I'm going to hurry up and get my house.
I feel like, I was telling her this, I feel like going on a strike, so a layoff is different.
Right.
If it was a layoff, I would understand pausing it. I don't agree with pausing it based on the strike.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's, I mean, this is not new. This is not, this has happened before. There's a track record in strikes. They normally get resolved within a reasonable amount of time. And people go back, and typically their pay increases or something. So, they got something out of the strike.
So let's talk about what the cons would be for, I guess, the industry in the event that a strike happens. So you have some. Well, we're in the middle of a strike. So the first one we realize is it's probably not going to close. We're at a delay at minimum.
It creates fear, and the fear may be unnecessary. So, the reason I asked that question is because I have buyers that have asked that question. Well, I don't know if I should close or go through with the deal because we might go on strike, or we're on strike, or I don't know what's going to happen or how long it's going to take, right? But if you're renting a property and I'm saying that you can't pay your rent, it's a different outcome than if you own a property, right? So, yeah, that's a personal decision they have to make. But I think that's one of the cons is that just the fear that's created by the media and everything that's going to impact the real estate market. Well, at least the buyers that are in the market for buying now.
For sure.
So it looks like the lenders are fearful about what Fannie and Freddie are going to do and decide. Right. So are going to create a bunch of loans that are going to end up being buybacks? Yeah,
because you got, I don't know for certain, but I can see it being hard because you closed on somebody that was employed, working 40, 60 hours a week. And now a couple weeks later, you're trying to sell the loan or whatever, or however long that time period is, their income has changed or their employment has changed. And there's some uncertainty there.
I feel like no way. Because it is a temporary change, but it's more than likely going to be, they're going to come out on a better end of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they're more than likely going to get an increase in pay, which means that they're going to be in increase in pay, maybe better working conditions, whatever it is that they're negotiating.
They'll be more qualified.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that, so right now we're just focusing on the cons, though. That's seems to be what the delay is, and what the cause is. What is Freddie and Fanny gonna decide to do?
Right.
And what I'm hearing is they would need to roll out a statement before they the lenders decide to move or clear the close.
Right.
They would need to roll out some sort of statement that says, we're gonna buy the loans.
Yeah, I think too, when I mention the fear from the seller side, it's just a understanding this is going to impact the market. Yeah, it does, but only a small percentage of those people were actually in the market at the moment to buy to buy a home. So most of them either already own a home or they rent and they not even considering buying a home for the next year or 5 years or whatever. So only a small percentage of them are actually in the middle of buying a home or actually in the middle of a deal. So I don't think it's enough to have a huge impact on the market. I think the impact comes from the fear of 100%. Actually making those loans.
I agree. I mean, because you said the same thing. You called 4 lenders today, and just the one dealing with it. Reggie is dealing with lenders all the time. He ain't heard nothing about it. I hadn't heard anything about it. I heard it through you.
Well, I did have one lender that forced us to close. They got to clear the close, and they was like, we have to close today.
You did.
Because they didn't know what was expected the next day.
If it was going to be. Well, that's crazy. They still closed it.
See, that's what I'm saying. So my contact is basically saying that there's going to be some liability for that type of a reaction.
Yeah.
So the liability of that lender moving forward and closing that before this hit the news, or before they could stop it, but you knew that this was happening, but you still closed on this loan. And now, it's going to be penalties and things that's going to be rolled out if in the event,
But I think it goes the
opposite way.
Yeah, that got to be case by case. The buyer on this property, it was my seller, but the buyer, they had just sold a property. The house they were buying was $340. The property they sold was $250. They had over $100,000 in equity. Actually, they just left the money in title company and had it transferred for this closing. They were both employed, Only one of them worked for UAW. So they had the means to qualify for the house.
That could be key too, because maybe some lenders are looking at it in depth and saying, okay, well, what's the qualification of this particular file? So you may have whoever's in management or underwriters reviewing it and saying, okay, XYZ person can go ahead and close because we feel like no matter what, even with this strike, their ability to pay is still sound.
Yeah, they had way more. They had probably a year's worth of reserve.
Right. But this borrower over here, where maybe they were just barely...
They had no reserve, no money.
No reserve.
So they're going to be late on their first 2 payments.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They ain't going to be able to... And then the other thing is, are they insurable? Are the mortgage... mortgage insurance company is going to go up on their cost.
I feel like that's crazy. I feel like that's BS. If they do, that's all fear-based propaganda. That's crazy.
I agree.
It's like unfortunate for people that. That's why I don't want to work my job.
Because there are pros, and Shaka was kind of been hitting on them the whole time. Because when I'm sitting up and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's a strike. They're not laid off. They still are gainfully employed.
Right.
And like he said, the conditions more than likely are going to get better. Typically, some sort of monetary agreement is normally reached, even if it's not the outcome they want.
Right.
It's normally some sort of monetary gain.
Increase.
And an increase, yeah. And it's not going, that could be retro pay for having to do certain things. That could be, the union stepping in and saying, we're fighting for our workers to be, they had to go to these lengths. So not only do we want you to give us more money, we want you to give us whatever it was that we lost, and like everything else.
It's usually a better situation for the employee, where if they're the borrower, they're going to be better off. That's the biggest pro.
So the odds that the person that went on strike is going to default on a loan, if it's a default, it's probably not because they went on strike, more than likely.
Right.
They could miss that first or second payment, though. But we know that first and second payment is everything.
True.
So so I get it from that perspective. That's it. So I guess I would understand in an instance where somebody didn't have the reserves, and they were, how people be
that's the
taking all their money. You know what I mean? They're taking all their money out to close, and then you only got another check coming.
Right.
So
that could also be, a great case for don't hold my loan up, give me the clear to close. I have reserves, maybe we escrow it or something.
Right.
Now, I guess we're talking about being creative, which was maybe one of my questions on here. Well, let's get through the pros first. So I put down, we got increase in wages means the ability to pay will increase. People will remain local. So, maybe if they're getting more money and the work conditions became better, maybe they won't relocate and go someplace else to live because they need to find better work. Right. And
that's just in Michigan. The UAW is just here in Michigan.
I don't know.
Well, I was more so speaking about the casinos.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, it becomes a overall blanket conversation about the strikes and how that could impact the industry. But I think what prompted this was, hey, we didn't realize that the casinos
we
were
have
going on
about
strike.
simultaneously going on.
Yeah, and one was happening, and then all of a sudden, because they even said it on some of them, they were like, we didn't plan a strike.
Right.
It wasn't something that, was something that kind of just happened or whatever. But that's the next question was going to be like, what's the shift, as people in the industry, what do we do when we're going through this? Like, does our pay stop because we didn't get that clear close?
I mean,
what's the shift?
When you working with people and you find out where they work at, you just have to let them know that if we start this process and y'all go on strike, there's a chance your deal may get delayed, or because like the lender we was working with, they was still gonna close it. They just said if they go on strike, they have to close it when they return back to work. So that was the only difference. But without any certainty as to when they would go back, then that leaves the seller in limbo.
And they're gonna pull a credit again.
And
They mess around and miss the payment.
So it's just one of them things. So But again, only a certain percentage of people were enough.
But I think that's an important conversation. You should go down like a few bullet points of what to expect if that happens, because people don't know that, right?
But I don't feel like it's a shift though, because I don't feel like this is shiftable. Like I feel like this is like
You just completely ignored the question.
No, but you asked the question. You just changed the question. So you asked the question about
like
the
you
shift,
talking about.
right? And I'm like, Reggie answered, and I was giving my perspective on the shift. I don't feel like it should be a shift because of I don't know what the percentage is of homeowners that work in these two fields, but it's just like any other deal that fell through. When it was supposed to be clear to close. You thought it was about to close, and maybe they made a deposit that they shouldn't have made, or they did anything stupid happen.
Laid off or whatever.
Whatever happened, it's like,
Right. And so the shift is not necessarily always catastrophic and the whole industry is about to make. I'm talking about from day to day in your business. I'm in Detroit, Metro Detroit. And we're probably going to be dealing with this for a little bit, maybe not that long, but long enough to come across people. So what are the things that we start thinking about? There is a shift in the business that you do not want to happen.
Right.
So based on having this understanding, what are the things that we do to prepare?
Yeah, you just understand that it's a chance that it either won't close, or you have the loan rep have that conversation with them up front. And you prepare your seller.
Exactly. So it's gonna be some seller conversations that have to happen too.
Right.
We have investors that are coming to the market, and if let's say, hopefully it's something that ends like next week. But if it doesn't, let's say maybe we're 12 weeks into it, we may need to have a couple conversations. We got listings over here in these communities. A lot of the people who live in these communities work at downtown Detroit at the casinos. This is something that we need to be on the lookout for.
That's a conversation you gonna have with your seller?
No, I'm just gonna tell my seller. I'm gonna tell my seller, look, there's some strikes going on when we get offers in, because you can't discriminate based on employment, but if you have the information, you can say there's a risk that this may or may not close on time.
So you may need to ask right now about where these people are employed at. So you gave me a pre-approval, and that's great. But where do they work?
Like if you go into a listing appointment and
I'm talking about when you get the offer. If you present an offer and this person works at some company that's currently on strike and it's in the news, you have to disclose that to your seller. Like, hey, as of now, they're approved. The lender feels comfortable enough to proceed, but that could absolutely change.
Sure. So we had offers, multiple offers, or even just one offer, and the offer was from some. We asked that question now, and then the offer was from somebody that was on strike. Then you're gonna have that conversation. But outside of that, it's not even. It's never gonna come up. Until it's only coming up when it's a problem. It's not something that I'm gonna. It's not information that I would give to my seller beforehand, because I feel like that promotes fear.
Not really.
Because you will get a question when something comes up. Some people will come back to you and say, "Why didn't you know about this?"
Yeah, why you didn't tell me? So
what I'm telling you.
I would, because it's how exactly I would explain it to the seller. It's a possibility this could change because they're either on strike or they're planning to strike, and that's out of our control. But the reality of it is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, any loan can fall apart for a number of reasons. So I'm just giving you this information because if this should change, there's still a possibility we'll close, but it may be delayed. Are you willing to wait if that happens? I'm just trying to be proactive with the client and let them know. And some of my sellers have been asking, like, does the buyer work UAW and all that? And I'll be like, I don't know because it's not my buyer, right? But I can ask. They can't give me that information.
They're not forced to give you that information either.
Exactly.
Like,
it wouldn't hurt to ask.
But if you ask and then something came up later, now when we start talking about lawsuits and arbitration because some other fell apart, you can still hand over the information that you received to the questions that you asked.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we're talking about, how to be prepared when different things come up. So yeah, we all know that you could lose a job in the middle of a transaction. However, we know right now that the casinos are on strike and the automotive companies are on strike. And so how do we deal with that?
Right.
I think that's a great suggestion, being proactive, because we're still going to be held accountable. I deal with people all the time, and they want to hold you to a whole bunch of things, and some things you can get away with. I don't know, but some things they're gonna be looking at you like, well, you should have knew.
Right.
So
I'm gonna explain to them. That's very explainable, and if that's the way they feel, sorry, I didn't know. Like, my bad.
Right.
all right. Anything else to add on this here topic?
That's it. Don't be scared.
Yeah, quit being scared. Like, so that's why I just feel like we're making this to be this big ordeal, and it's really not. It's not we just not.
We grew up with every time we turn on the news, it used to just be a strike, UAW or somewhere. It's
layoffs.
It's common. We haven't seen it as much lately, but I mean, it's just common. Layoffs and strikes just part of being here in our area because we in a motor city. We got the big three. That's just
And not
kind
casinos. So
yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of what it is.
All right. So I guess our advice was, do not prepare. No, I'm just saying, prepare yourself.
Right.
Make sure you understand what's going on, and
Don't be
get ready
scared.
to have some of these conversations, because they're gonna come up. And unfortunately, some of us, like me, where I'm dealing with it, are clear to close may be delayed.
Yeah.
To be continued. That's a wrap.